Finance. I'm taking the lecture of financial management for you. Today, I will discuss about working capital management. In last session, we have discussed what was the meaning of working capital, how can we manage the working capital, what are the kinds of working capital, significance of working capital, and after that we have discussed this balance sheet. In this balance sheet, I have cleared you that if we see on the left hand side, then if we leave three items, equity shares, debentures, reserve and surplus, then remaining all the things which are shown in this balance sheet at left hand side are current liabilities. Again, if we see this balance sheet on right hand side, then if we leave goodwill, land and building, plant and machinery, all three heads comes under the fixed capital or fixed assets. And if we talk about inventory, finished goods, work in process, prepaid expenses, marketable securities, debtors, bills receivables, cash and bank balance, then all are termed as current assets. And working capital means, if we are talking about gross working capital, you can say if we add all the items of current assets, then we can say this is a gross working capital. And if we have to calculate net working capital, then we have to deduct current liabilities from current assets, and remaining figure will be termed as net working capital. Now, this is a chart which is showing variable working capital and permanent working capital. So there is a fluctuation. Although there is a fluctuation, so where there is a fluctuation, this is variable working capital. So whenever we have to run a business, then normally we have two types working capital. One is permanent and second is variable. So if you talk about the permanent working capital, you can say this is a clear line. This is a line of permanent working capital, and where we are having certain up and down, this is the chart of variable working capital. This chart is used where firm has stability in the operations. Another chart is prepared for the organization where there are lot of opportunity for growth. You can say this chart belongs to a growing firm, and last chart belongs to a stable firm. It means there was no growth in the business, but business has in the position of stagnation and it is stable nowadays. So if you talk about this chart, in this chart there are two types of working capital, variable and permanent. So you can say here permanent working capital is increasing day by day because this is a chart for a growth firm, and because growth firm is growing means Before some time it was producing 1 lakh unit, and after some time it is producing 1,50,000 units or 2 lakh units. It means firm is growing, and whenever you are producing more and more unit, then you need more working capital. It may be permanent. So whenever you have to you have to maintain a provision for working capital, for permanent working capital, then you have to keep in mind that because this is a growing firm, so we will need permanent working capital increase day by day. If we talk about this working capital, this is a variable working capital. As business increases, this variable working capital will increase. But variable working capital always have some fluctuation if we compare with the permanent working capital. Now, next topic is operating cycle. Operating cycle may be defined as the time duration starting from the procurement of goods or raw material and ending with the sales realization. It means operating cycle is the cycle in which we have to add all the time required from conversion of raw material to conversion of cash. It means, for example, suppose there is a firm and the firm want to produce some items of plastic. It may be bucket, it may be some other items of plastic. Now suppose the main product of the firm is bucket, then first of all he has to purchase raw material. After that it has to convert into work in process, and after that it may be converted into finished goods. It means raw material needs processing to become a finished goods. After processing, raw material convert into finished goods, but these finished goods we have to sell in the market to earn money. And when we go to the market to sell these finished goods, then sometimes it is converted into cash directly, and sometimes it may take some time because the person who are ready to purchase the goods from our organization wants some time to pay. So these persons are called debtor. So actually the time from where the time of point where the organization started purchasing of raw material to collection of sales realization is duration. This duration is called operating cycle. Again, I am reading other points. Next is there is a time gap between the happening of first event and happening of last event. It means suppose an organization purchase raw material on 1st April and it could convert it this finished goods. Suppose the organization purchased raw material on 1st, it converted into finished goods on 15th, and this finished goods is converted into cash on 30th April. So operating cycle will be of 1 month. Thus, operating cycle of a firm consists of the time required for the completion of the chronological sequence of some or all of the following. So in nutshell, you can say these 5 points we have to add. Then we can say this is a operating cycle. Number one, conversion of cash into raw material. Number two, conversion of raw material into work in progress. Number three, conversion of work in process into finished goods. Number four, conversion of finished goods into sales. Number five, conversion of receivables into cash. So we have to sum up all these 5 points. Then the total duration covered in these different stages will be termed as operating cycle. For example, number one, conversion of raw material of cash into raw material is required, suppose 1 day. Raw material into work in progress required 5 days. Work in progress to finished goods required, suppose 14 days. Now total duration is 1 plus 5 is equal to 6 plus 14, 24 days. Conversion of finished goods into sales, conversion of receivables into cash, and we have to add all these things, then we can get the operating cycle. Now let's do some exercise on it so that it may be clear to all of you. This is an example problem based on operating cycle. From the following information taken from the book of a manufacturing concern, compute the operating cycle in days. Period covered 365 days. Average period of credit allowed by supplier 16 days. Average debtors outstanding 4,80,000. Raw material consumption 44, and total production cost 1 crore. Total cost of goods sold 105, sales 160. Value of average stock maintained, raw material 320, WIP 350, finished goods 260. Now this is the formula. We had 5 points in the slides: conversion of cash, conversion of raw material. So for it, we have here formula. Raw material conversion period is equal to average raw material stock into 365 divided by raw material. WIP conversion period is equal to average WIP stock into 365 days divided by cost of production. Finished good conversion period is equal to average finished good stock into 365 days divided by cost of sales. Debtor conversion period, average debtor into 365 days divided by sales. Creditors payment period, average creditors into 365 days divided by purchases. So it is a formula. Now let's apply this formula. Average raw material, value of average stock maintained raw material, it is given 320 into 365 divided by here average debtor sounding raw material consumption. Here it is given raw material consumption, so you can write here purchases or raw material consumption. So if raw material consumption is not given, then we will apply purchase in place of raw material consumption. Here it is given raw material consumption is 44. Next, WIP conversion period. WIP conversion period, here we have average WIP stock. It is given 350, 350, triple zero into 365 days. Divide by cost of production. Here it is given that the cost of production is 100. Now, average finished good stock. Average finished goods stock is given 260, 260 into 365 divided by cost of sales. Cost of sales or cost of goods sold is given 105. 5. Now, debtor conversion period. Debtor conversion period is equal to debtors 480, 480, triple zero. Divide into 365. Divide by sales. Sales is given 160, 160. Now, creditors payment period. Average creditors from the following information taken from the book of manufacturing concern, computer operating cycle, period recovered. Average period of credit allowed by suppliers. So here it is clear given that it is 16 days. Now I am taking the help of calculator and writing down the value. First of all, number one is 320, triple zero into 365 divide by 44 is equal to 26.54. 26.54. 26.54. Now 350 into 365 divide by 12.775. 12.77. Now 260 into 365. 260 into 365 divide by 10500. Divide by 10500. This is 9 days. Now last calculation is 480 into 365 divide by 1 divide by 16000. It is 11 days. 11 days. Now we have to add all 4 heads. We have to add all 4 points and we have to deduct 16 days. So total will be 26 plus 12, 38 plus 1, 39 plus 9, 48 plus 11. This is 59. Total is 59 less 16 days. Total will be 43 days. Operating cycle. Cycle is 59 days less creditors payment period is equal to net operating cycle. It will be 43 days. So question is complete here. So this is the final answer. You may write here. So we have done the problem. Let's do some another problem. This is problem number 2. Here we have to calculate again operating cycle. To reduce the time, or you can say to save the time, I copied the format which we used in last numerical. Now I am using the format. I am write down the value given in the question. Number one, raw material conversion period. It is average raw material in stock. It is given average raw material stock 80,000. 80,000 into 365 divide by purchases 6 lakh. I think you are very much aware that we have to write down two things here. Number one, raw material consumption. If raw material consumption is not given, then we will use purchases. Next, average WIP in stock. It is 85,000 into 365 divide by 21 lakhs. Now, finished goods conversion period. Average finished good in stock 180 into 365 divide by cost of sales. Cost of sales is not given here, so we will use sales. Sales is 30. Now here average debtors into 365. 350 into 365 divide by 30. Now last one is average creditors 90,000 into 365 divide by purchases. Purchases given 6 lakh. Now I am using the calculator to find out the value. This is 80 into 365 divide by 600. This is 48.6. Here 885 into 365 divided by 21 0 14.77. Here 180 into 365 divided by 3000. This is 21.9. Now 350 into 365 divided by 3000. This is 42.58. Now creditors payment period 90,000 into 365 divided by 600. 90,000 into 54.75. 54.75. Here first of all we have to add all these, and after that we have to deduct this. Now write down the formula again. Operating cycle is equal to equal to 48.6 plus 14.77 plus 21.9 plus 42.58 minus 50 is equal to 127.85 minus 54.75 is equal to 73.1. 73.1 means 73 days. This is net operating cycle. Creditors conversion period we have to less. This is net operating cycle. So this is the final answer for this problem. I hope you all are able to understand the solution of this problem. Now come again on some another topic. I think two problems are sufficient to understand the operating cycle because it's very easy concept, so there is no need to give more time on these topics. Now come on another topic. This was operating cycle which we have done. This is the figure, raw material conversion in WIP. First of all, cash. You converted cash into raw material, after that raw material into WIP, after WIP finished goods. WIP means work in progress. It means intermediary stage. Now WIP converted in finished goods, then finished goods is converted into sales, then sales again, debtors is again converted into cash. Now this cycle is called operating cycle in a manufacturing firm. This is the example of operating cycle in a non-manufacturing or trading firm. Normally in trading firm, we purchase goods and after that we have to sell it, and this receivable is converted into cash. So you can say length of operating cycle is less in trading firm in comparison to manufacturing organization, and length of operating cycle actually is very crucial factor. If we can reduce the length of operating cycle, then we can use amount of working capital again and again. So let's take an example. Suppose there is a firm, it is using working capital of rupees 5 lakh. It means a firm purchases stock of rupees 5 lakh and sell at rupees 6 lakh. Is getting a profit of rupees 1 lakh. Now suppose the shopkeeper purchase goods once in a year at rupees 5 lakh and convert it into rupees 6 lakh within a year, only one. Then by investing rupees 5 lakh he is earning a revenue of rupees 6 lakh and profit of rupees 1 lakh only. But if he could use this amount of rupees 5 lakh around 4 in a month and total 50 in a year, it means he purchased goods at rupees 5 lakh and he sells at rupees 6 lakh, and total 50 times he could do this transaction in a year, then the total profit which will earn by the individual will be 1 lakh into 50, and investment in working capital is only rupees 5 lakh. So simply you can say the length of operating cycle is a very crucial factor. If we could reduce length of operating cycle and if we can use working capital again and again, then we may increase the profitability of the organization up to a great extent.